All right, I think I'm live. Let me fix this. All right. Okay, let us go. So let me check to see the sound really quick, and welcome to the live astronauts if you can hear me already. Ooh, so sorry if I start sweating, it's because it's hot, man. It is for sure hot. Okay, and this actually had to be a little bit more of a last minute live. I was planning to schedule this for like Thursday or Wednesday, but then I realized that my schedule is like booked back to back, and I was like, oh, that never happens, at least not at night. But it is booked back to back. So let me check to see if the sound is working. Come on in. We will be doing Saturn and Revati. Finally. It had to be. Okay, this sound is working very well. As you're coming in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know how you are doing. As you know, I am here for the Saturn and Revati transit. We will be going over the astrology of what will be occurring or what is occurring now that Saturn has transited into Revati. Excuse me for the pronunciation. I'm terribly dyslexic. And let me tell you, if there's one thing I'm going to mess up, it's a name. It is 100% a pronunciation. It's a spelling. Dyslexia really is something else, but hopefully you guys will be forgiving of me, because let me tell you, I butcher names all the time and it's so embarrassing. It's really embarrassing, and it really upsets people. And I'm like, I'm really not trying. This is how it is. But welcome to the live. My name is Brandi. If you are new here, I am a tarot reader and astrologer. I practice Vedic astrology, though sometimes, I might do a little Western every now and then, as that is how I was introduced into astrology. But I have found Vedic astrology to be more accurate and timely, at least in my own personal experience. So today I will be covering the transit of Saturn and Revati. I love to go over the major transits. You probably won't see me make too many videos on like Mercury and Venus and etc. At least for now, just because I'm limited on time. And so I like to concentrate on the transits that will have the most impact, which is technically more so the outer planets or the slower moving planets like Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune. These are all the ones that I absolutely love and adore and need to talk about as an astrologer, or at least I am prioritizing for the time being. So sit back and relax. We are going to go over the normal structure of everything. So before we get started, I do want to let you all know that there is a sale. That is right. There is a sale right now on private readings, and that is the recorded private readings, not the live sessions, though you can still get a live session with me. Now, you can go through my Etsy shop, where essentially you just pay for it, and I will send you a digital download that will have the link to the video of your recorded session. Or if you choose a live session and for some reason you don't want to take advantage of the sale, that's fine. You can get a digital download and you will receive a link to a Calendly. I think that's how it's pronounced. A place where you can schedule a live session with me. We will hook up for the live session, and I will make sure that I give you some good insights, or the insights to the best of my ability. You can also do the same thing, but through my booking form. The booking form is a little bit more hands-on, because you will have to manually send payment either through Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo, but either way, that is fine. It's a simple, easy process. You will be asked a series of questions, essentially like what type of reading do you want? If you want a birth chart reading, I'm obviously going to ask for, the birth chart details so that I can have it ready and prepared for you. You'll be asked if you want a live session or just like the standard one. But either way, the sale applies to the standard readings and not the live readings, same as it would on Etsy. There is no code to input. Everything is automatically taken off on Etsy. And then for the booking form, you would just have to pay the listed sale price, not the standard price, the sale price, which is 30% off. So keep in mind that that sale will be going till July 1st, and then it will be back to normal prices. So if you want to take advantage of getting a private reading, that would be the time. Now, if you don't want a private reading, let's say you just want a lickety quick split. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. If you want a quick just question, then you can join me live. This week I will be live on Saturday at noon. I usually go live on Thursday and Friday at 9 p.m. or Saturday at noon. I will be live usually once a week. Unless something goes wrong, but I will usually tell you astronauts if something is gone awry. Now that I've got everything out of the way, let me just drink a little bit of water. I hope you're all doing well on this beautiful, beautiful summer day. Happy summer, because I think this is the first time I'm going live and seeing you guys for the summer. And if you are stargazers, be sure to watch the summer reading that is up. I posted that this past Saturday. I was going to say Friday, but I posted this past Saturday so you can see your summer predictions. I thought the summer predictions were very, very positive. Overall, it seemed like there's a vibe change, a shift change. So if you are a stargazer, go ahead and watch the summer reading. If you want to become a stargazer, then become a member. You can get access to all of the monthly, the yearly, and seasonal readings, as well as some unique readings, because we definitely have some unique readings coming up this month. You know, we also have next month. And this month, we also have the July 2026 reading that I have not put out there yet, but it will be out there on Saturday, so we can see what's going to be happening specifically for the month of July and not just the overall summer. Now let's get into it. So this is how I would like you guys to listen to this. When it comes to astrology, you can look at your sun, moon, or rising sign. I find all three of them to be relevant, but particularly the rising sign tends to tell the strongest story. I kind of look at the moon and the sun to be sort of like side stories to the main character ascendant story. Now, sometimes those side stories and side quests are a little bit more interesting than the main plot story, but ultimately the rising sign is dictating the character arc of your life, okay? That is what I want to say there. So I highly recommend you listening to your ascendant first and then branching off and listening to your sun or your moon. Your sun is obviously going to tell you a little bit more in terms of what's going on with your career or your goals or, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve in life, because sun is connected to that vitality and achievement and showcasing things in the world. Your moon is actually going to tell you just a little bit what's going on with you emotionally or how you feel about certain things and events unfolding around you. So that's something to look at. And I don't think you should just look at just the transit when it comes to what is transiting your sign placement. You know, you have to think about how these planets interact with each other. For example, let's say you have an Aries ascendant and Jupiter is going over your ascendant. Well, Aries is ruled by Mars and Jupiter expands everything. And so you could actually be, number one, either full of a lot of energy or just highly irritated at this time. Like, you know what I mean? Because Jupiter expands everything, including all of Aries passion, whether that is passionate about something I'm excited about or passionate about something that is getting on my nerves. And don't mind my phone here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and put that on silent. It normally is on silent, but I had to wait for some calls. You know, when you step in line, you call a service and then you're like, please call me back. And if you want to wait in line or something like that, they ask you if you want to either wait on the line or if you want to put in your number and they can call you back. So I did that a little bit earlier today. Adulting is super annoying. So let's get into it. I think I gave all the announcements so far. Be sure to watch the reading Thursday, and we're just going to hop right into it. We don't want to waste any more time. I said I'm going to make this an hour and 30, so we're going to strive to do that. So Saturn entered Revati on May 17th, and it will be leaving on October 2026. But officially, it kind of ends the Revati cycle. from May 17th to June 3rd, 2027. So from May 17th, 2026, this year, Saturn went to Revati. It's going to leave Revati on October 9th, 2026, and it's going to be retrograding back into Uttara Bhadrapada. And there, it will stay into Uttara Bhadrapada until February 8th, 2027, till June 3rd, 2027. Okay. And then we're done. It's a pretty quick cycle for Saturn being in Revati. It's having more of a ball in Uttara Bhadrapada right now. So we're starting a new story and also ending a new story at the same time, because Revati is the last nakshatra, is the nakshatra of endings. Excuse me. It is the final point in our spirit's journey to moksha, to liberation, to ascension. And it has a deep connection because of that to empathy and compassion. Okay. I do want you to know that. And just keep in mind that Saturn will be going retrograde on July 26th. So, okay. Just wanted to throw that out there until you guys get the full picture. Make sure you have all that information down. We can even say it again in order. Saturn entered Revati on May 17th, 2026. It will be leaving in October 2026. It will officially go retrograde in July 2026. And when it goes retrograde and leaves Revati in October 9th, it will be going back into Uttara Bhadrapada, where it will stay there until February 8th, 2027. And then it will leave on June 3rd, 2027. Okay. So you have some time to close some things out. Revati is about closure. It is about safe passage. It is about guidance for the lost, the abandoned. It is ruled by Pushan. Okay. Which is connecting to all of those aspects. Pushan is known as the deity that guides those who are lost. Okay. It's the protector of cattle and flocks, or people who don't have homes, or feel a little bit boundless, or feel a little bit like untethered to things. Okay. It connects to wealth, compassion, empathy, spirituality, optimism, strategy. How do I say this? I guess the intimacy, I'll say that as well. Rumors, connection to Neville babies, or even escapism and addiction, or even prison time, isolation. That's all of the 12th house. That's Uttara Bhadrapada, that's Purva Bhadrapada, and that's Revati for isolation. Got to keep that in mind there. So Revati is all about wanting to restore dignity. And there's this deep desire to transcend the material world. The focus is less on the things that you can accumulate within the material world, whether it's the nice houses, the jewelry, the cars, and more so about the connections you make, not only to others, but to yourself. All right. So I want you to think about that. Revati is a very beautiful placement, which is probably why Venus is exalted there, right? The planet of love and human connection and souls coming together and all that stuff. Revati natives can actually possess a psychological and spiritual tools to acquire great self-awareness. That is my observations when I've seen Revati. There is a tendency through isolated self-inquiry, meaning they're the type of placement in which, sometimes you have to be taught to understand yourself, to learn yourself, to get to know yourself, where Revati actually, because it is connected and ruled by Mercury, the planet of logic and intelligence, they actually have a natural ability, not all of them, but the majority, I'll say, are a good portion, to begin to question things, to logically think about things, to analyze things on a deeper level without that sort of outside, let me teach you, let me explain things to you, mindset. So that's why we know that Mercury rules over these placements here. It is a very, very intellectual placement. Okay. It's not just about accepting things. It's about a deep knowing. Okay. And that's about everything, but let's keep moving. It's about evolving into emotional maturity, On the other hand, you can find Revati people sort of falling into this victim martyr mindset. I see it a lot with a lot of Mercurial people, where there is this framing of their experiences into this lens that is tragic and destructive. This narrative is something that I see a lot of Mercurial people carry, and Revati people are no exception. There is a sense of running away from any form of accountability. They are known, though, to be very highly articulate and a master of words and communication. There is also this sense of, how do I say it? There are a lot of times when they're dealing with escapism and addiction. You can think of people like Whitney Houston, Angelina Jolie, Marvin Gaye, Robert Downey Jr. Like the list goes on when it comes to Revati natives. Often they are exposed to the cruel world pretty early on, quite often by people who they love and they trust. And I think that becomes a part of their backstory and the fact and the reason why they kind of lean into this victim mindset, because it starts early. Technically, a lot of them are victimized early, and then they'll carry that story with them. And sometimes it can turn into an excuse for them inflicting abusive or manipulative behavior on others. But then other times it is a seed planted within them that they're able to carry and express deep empathy through because they've been through tough situations. Okay. And then sometimes that story happens within the same lifetime, right? Where they start off as someone who's kind of a bit of a dickhead, and then they grow and they develop and they mature into somebody who is deeply empathetic and has a lot of compassion to others. And there is this sense of lack of boundaries. And I brought up Angelina Jolie because you can think about her story and how she kind of started off with not the best childhood, and she went to drugs, and there was a lot of abuse and self-hatred and etc. Then she gets to the point where she travels the world and she sees other people suffering, and she has a sense of compassion. And she begins to adopt children from other cultures and races. And this is what you'll see a lot with Revati people, not necessarily adopting people from different cultures and races, though that is a thing. I have seen, not even just Revati people, Mercurial people in general do that. But it's about a lack of boundaries. You know, it's about this sense of, you know, I am you, you are me. It's not about like, you have to be my blood. You have to be someone who is connected to me. It's just like, I'm human, you're human. We have this bond. We have this natural connection. So this is what I see when I look at Revati, the disillusion of borders, which is probably why it's the last nakshatra here, right? Which can be a very good thing, but you know, sometimes it's not the best thing. Okay. There is a sense of, as I said it before, for certain Revati people, a rationalization of this victim persona. And this is because the 12th house is the house of self-destruction. It is the house of self-sabotage. So obviously this pattern is going to come up greatly. You know, this doesn't apply to all Revati people. Let's be clear. You know, sometimes people hear these things and they're just like, oh no, I have this placement, I'm a monster. It's like, no, it's just a pattern I've noticed. And it can apply to certain Revati people, but it doesn't apply to all. And there's some very beautiful and positive things about this placement, as I said there, because they have this sense of dissolving of limitations. You can find them being very deeply connected to the ones that they love. Something that I'll see about Revati people is, we know when they love someone, it's that Bobby and Whitney love. Like, it's very much like we are one. We, you know, how Bobby went when Whitney was having issues with bowel movements, Bobby went in there and helped her out. Okay. So like I said, it can be a very much like deeply entangled type of love. When we talk about Revati, a lot of intensity there. Okay. Oh, astrology is fake. Well, if you believe that, then there is no reason for you to be here. So I will relieve your pain and I will hide you from the channel. So as I was saying here, when we talk about Revati, it is a sense of boundlessness and endlessness, lack of limitation, which can be very, very beautiful, and also sometimes a little bit self-destructive, as we can see. Sometimes they get too caught up and entangled with someone to the point where that person actually might be bringing them down. Okay, so that is something I want you to know about this placement. Now, the energy associated with Revati is a sense of divine inheritance. So those born under this influence are often born into wealth and privilege, as I previously mentioned. Oh, hello. Hi from Brazil. Well, I'm not saying hi from Brazil, but hi to Brazil. So cool that you're from Brazil. But I will say this, despite the built-in privilege that a lot of Revati people have and support that they may get, there's still a strict reckoning when it comes to personal limitations and with their own choices. At the end of the day, they are forced to step up from behind the safety nets that are within their lives, and they have to take real accountability for themselves. So at this time, as we apply it to all of you watching, or all of you who may watch and look back at this, you may not actually be able to escape the limitations of who you are. But at the same time, it can bring exact structural support that you need to finally break through to that next level that you thought was impossible to reach. You know what it reminds me of? If you've ever seen the version of Cinderella starring Brandi with Whitney Houston, you know how she was there crying because she couldn't get to the ball. That's the story of Cinderella. And then Whitney Houston, Revati native, comes through and says, you know what? I am going to expand your world beyond your imagination. You know, you have this limited thing. You've reached the peak of your limitations. You've done all that you can. And I'm going to be here to play your fairy godmother and take you to that next level. And that is somewhat what this transit can feel like for some of you. Okay. So I do want you to keep in mind that even though you may be confronted with certain demons or places in which you sabotage yourselves, there's also an opportunity to extend yourself and go further than you ever thought you could go. So that is what I have there. Let me get here, drink some water before I continue. And you guys let me know if you have any Revati placements. I'm very curious. Maybe I can make that a poll really quick. That should be, oh, no, not Q&A. Here we go. Any Revati placements? I'll just do a simple yes and no. And then not sure for some of you. Hey, Kate, how are you? I don't think I can see the emoji. It just comes across as a square to me for some reason. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. Or maybe it's my internet that's not loading. But either way, I'm happy that you are here. So we're keeping this very short. Like I said, I'm trying to get this under an hour and 30 minutes. So last time that Saturn was in Revati was April 1st, 1997 from April 17th, 1998. At this time, we had the British rule over Hong Kong. That ended due to the 99-year lease agreement between Britain and China expiring, transferring the control back to the People's Republic of China, beginning a very, very complex political shift. So 30 years since the formal transition from British colonial administration to the Chinese rule, what has occurred as Beijing has, aggressively tightened its control over Hong Kong. It has begun systematically dismantling its democratic framework. China actually has stepped in and taken away Hong Hong Kong's power to govern itself, such as changing voting rules so that the public can no longer freely elect its own leaders, through sweeping measures like the 2020 National Security Law and the 2024 Safeguarding National Security Ordinance. They have banned public protests. They have criminalized peaceful civil activism under expanded definition of treason. And then they also explicitly denied early release of people who were jailed for democracy, who were like advocates for democracy. They denied early release for them, essentially. What would you say the difference between Revati and other Pisces nakshatras? That's pretty easy. Like, Revati's very analytical. It's a lot more focused, compassionate. There's a lot more, how do I say it? There's a lot less work. Like with Uttara Bhadrapada, there's a lot of focus on building, creating, and almost a sense of self-mastery. When it comes to Revati, there is less of that focus on self-mastery. Not that they can't master a certain skill or anything like that, but it's more so focused on getting to know yourself, more sitting down and thinking about who you are, understanding your emotional world, growing emotional intelligence, having compassion for others. There's just a lot more room to sit and think. And I've just seen these stronger moments for pause and reflection and empathy. With Purva Bhadrapada, now that placement is like an unveiling of truth. Like, I am about to expose the world to you and show you what it's like to know all of the secrets, to know the game plan, to see beyond the veil, to see beyond the curtains. It's a very expansive like energy. And when I see Purva Bhadrapada people, they have their own mindset, they have their own thoughts, and they have their own unique way of being. But one thing about them is they are less controlled, less contained than what you would see from somebody who would be like Uttara Bhadrapada. Somebody Purva Bhadrapada is more likely to outwardly show their temper or to be more outwardly opinionated, versus Uttara Bhadrapada is more of a background figure. Same with Revati. They're a little bit more less outspoken. And also, when you think of Revati people, I think that they're more outwardly going to really show you who they are, okay? Meaning the good side and the bad side. You know, think about like when Rihanna was talking trash to people on Twitter. You don't see too many Uttara Bhadrapada people doing the same thing that she did. Granted, Rihanna's both. I think she's Uttara Bhadrapada and Revati. But I think if she didn't have that Revati placement, she'd probably not go toe to toe to people. And you can see as she got older, she kind of just went silent. She doesn't really backtalk people as much. She kind of ghosted. She kind of leaned it more into that Uttara Bhadrapada, I'm not even going to talk to you type of vibe. So more controlled for Uttara Bhadrapada, more expansive for Purva Bhadrapada, and more analytical and feisty for Revati. And Revati's also a lot more calculated. And Revati people want you to know that they're smart, okay? It's kind of interesting because it's like that also becomes a shield for them to kind of either A, they'll let you know that they're smart if they feel like that is beneficial for them. But sometimes they'll play dumb, sometimes, but it's rare. You know, they tend to have egos. But there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of differences with a lot of them. If you study and you look at their characters and how they express themselves, I think Purva Bhadrapada people tend to be, they're the type of people who will come up with a lot of ideas and thoughts that feel like, oh, you have your own way of being, like you're creating a movement. Think about like, if you know the influencer, he's not alive now, Kevin Samuels, like kind of start of a movement. Sheer 7, kind of like a start of a movement. Like I have my own way of thinking. I have my own I don't know what you want to call it, philosophy, way I see the world, you know, and I'm going to push that, or be loud about it, or think about Kanye West, you know, always loud, always, you know, sharing every thought that he has, you know. So those are some of the differences that I personally seen when it comes to those placements. Now I'm just going to go back to the history real quick, but great question, Kate. I really like that question. Especially for those who want to learn more about these Pisces placements. Looks like it might be split. Is it half and half when it comes to who has the Pisces placements? I can't see the poll for some reason. Okay, so it's no and not sure. And if you're not sure, go ahead and look up your Vedic chart. It will tell you and let you know if you have Revati placements. Okay, just Google Vedic chart, and most Vedic charts will break down the nakshatras of where your sun is, where your ascendant is, where your moon is, and etc. And it will say, is it in Revati nakshatra? Is it in Uttar Bhadrapada? Is it in Purva Bhadrapada? Is it in Sastabisha? You know, like, go into all of those details there. So, thank you. These celebrities with Revati seem to run their mouths a bit more. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They really are. They're more outspoken. They're more unapologetic. And also, what I've noticed about Revati is they don't let things like shame or embarrassment sort of keep them down. Like, they may go through some circumstances that are absolutely humiliating, but they're not going to let people shaming them or critiquing them beat them down. You know, they're going to say, this is who I am. I'm not going to apologize for it. There is more vulnerability that I see with Revati. What kind of astrology do you study? Is it Indian, Eastern, Asian? I've never heard of this before. This is Vedic astrology. Vedic astrology, sidereal astrology. That is what I tend to practice. And I'm talking about the nakshatras here. There's a whole bunch of information. You know, I started doing a nakshatra series that I would love to get back to, but I don't have enough time. I would be spreading myself too thin. But thanks for asking, Coffee. Now, back to the 1997-1998 transit. So, in this same time period, we actually saw a global shift when it comes to entertainment. So during this time period, we had the founding of Netflix. I don't know if you guys remember that Netflix used to be that little DVD company, and you could go to, I think it might have been grocery stores or some places like Walmart, Target, etc. And you could go and they would have this sort of like a vending machine for DVDs, and you put whatever DVDs was out or whatever popular movies was out, and you just rented it and then you returned it. Netflix, let me tell you, they killed Blockbuster by doing that, because no longer did you have to go to Blockbuster and go ahead and rent out all of these different videos and rewind, you know, the Be Kind rewind thing. Instead, at your local grocery store while you're buying groceries on your way out, you can say, oh, wait, look, they've got like 20 movies to choose from, 30 movies to choose from this vending machine. All I have to do is print this out, return it next time I'm at the grocery store, and boom, I'm good. So yeah, Netflix really did their big one with that, and they came out during this time period of Saturn and Revati. Okay. And this was actually started by Mark Rudolph and Reed Hastings. So if you wanted to know their names. Now, along with this, we had the publishing of Harry Potter. And we all know this actually went on to being the best selling book series of all time in the world, for the record, unless you count the Bible. But, you know, sometimes Bibles are just free. But Harry Potter pretty much beat the record. How do we find out our chart with this? You could just Google Vedic chart, Vedic chart calculator. And you should have things come up right away. There are quite a few websites that will show your Vedic chart, and you just put in the information the same way you would any other chart, like on astrology or astro.com. Astro I think cafe astrology might still be out there, but just look up Vedic chart calculator. Let me look it up, see what comes up first. Astroseek.com, they should have it. Let me look at this. I want to make sure that they have the nakshatras. They do. So if you go to astroseek.com, put in your information, and you'll be able to see what planets you have, if any, in Revati. You'll see the Lord, the Pada Lord, the ruling deity, the purpose, whether it's moksha, kama, dharma, artha, and which are the different like house placements. What type of house is it in? Is it in a dharma house? Is it in a moksha house? Things along the lines of that. And they also give information like the day you were born, your moon nakshatra, which most people go by in terms of being like the most important in Vedic. So there's a lot of information out there. I don't know if I can share my screen, if it will even allow me to. Let me click on, let me see if I can do that. So you guys can look at this. Media source, window capture 3. Here we go. So you would go to, ooh, where'd it go? How come I can't click on it? So all you have to do is go to, see how I just searched Vedic chart calculator, clicked on the Vedic chart. All I did was click on whatever information they had there, but you could put in your information, date of birth, time, city, whole sign system. All I did was just click a random thing and let them generate. The chart will look like something like this. Then you can scroll down and you can see the nakshatra placements here. So you see sun and Purvashada, moon and Asta, Mercury and Uttara Ashada, etc., going on there, Saturn and Ashwini, based upon all of this information. Chiron and Uttara Vajrapada, etc. And it'll give you all of that information there so you can see what your chart looks like for yourself, Coffee. All right, hopefully that was helpful. And let me know if you need any more assistance, but it's pretty straightforward. You know, once you're able to look up that information, then you'll see your nakshatras, and then you can look up, you know, what's it like to have your sun in Purvashada, what's it like to have your Mercury in Revati, or your sun in Mula, you know, things along the lines of that. And there's a lot of information out there to sort through, but I have found the best way is to go by experience. That is just my opinion. Go by observation, look at people over and over again, listen to their stories. After that, you'll see a lot of patterns. For example, with mercurial placements, you'll see a lot of like Judas-like stories playing out. Like, for example, you'll see a mercurial person, they'll tend to get like offered a certain amount of money or a certain experience that would cause them to betray their own people or to go against their own community, and they can either lean in and take the deal or not take the deal. That is a story I've seen played out over and over again with mercurial people, you know, whether they want to be that Judas character. And it's usually like a trade for like some sort of material gain versus standing by who you are. And sometimes it's on a big scale, sometimes it's on a small scale. Like, for example, I saw one influencer and she was complaining about a brand trip, saying how the brand trip was very racist. They treated her a lot differently as a Black woman versus how they treated all the white women on the trip, right? And then after she complained and left the trip, the brand invited another Black influencer. And that Black influencer decided to accept the brand trip. That influencer got a lot of pushback because they were seen as sort of betraying their own people. Because it's like, why are you accepting a brand trip in which another Black creator just said that, hey, they're not treating us right over here. It's almost like you're accepting the breadcrumbs and ignoring the higher, how do I say it? The higher calling, the higher message, which is standing against racism. So these are the stories that might have play out. And that person who accepted the trip was Mercurial, obviously. They were Mercurial rule placement. So these are the stories that I'll see play out with Mercurial people. This sense of, are you going to remain moral and principled, or are you going to sell out your soul for money, coins, material gains? And I think that makes a lot of sense because Mercury's the last nakshatra. And so its ultimate goal is to rise above material gains. And the only way they can rise above material gains is to be tempted by them. So, but that is what I say there. But we got to get back to the video, guys. Be sure to look up your chart. And this video is obviously going to be up. I'll timestamp everything. So if you want to look up your chart and you needed that preview again, you'll be able to click right to it. But let's get right back to the history. We left off with the fact that Harry Potter became one of the best selling series of all time. This is when Netflix was founded. We also this year had like very unmatched cinematic history. When James Cameron's Titanic smashed, records and became the first film ever to gross $1 billion at the global box office. Also, I'll say this era also became like this huge media attention, massive chaos ball, I'll say, when it came to public tragedy. Because we also had the death of Princess Diana here, who was killed in a high-speed car chase, triggering this unprecedented wave of grief. And on top of that, the same year, we had the death of Versace outside the mansion. If you've ever seen the Netflix series too, I think might have been called Gianni Versace, where they talked about his death and the stalker and kind of just told the story of that person and how they came to end up killing Gianni Versace outside of his mansion in Florida. Very sad, very tragic. So this was a year of tragic celebrity obsession to the point of death, to the point of it became very problematic to this breaking point. And so we can see Saturn and Revati actually brought upon to light the dangers of collective obsession, especially when it came to celebrity culture. And this did ultimately trigger some like anti-paparazzi laws. However, when we think about how things have developed over time, I don't think it actually suppressed people's desire to be closer to that celebrity flame. I see conversations now saying that the type of celebrity that we had now, the Kardashians, the Paris Hiltons, the Lindsay Lohans, the Britney Spears, the Princess Dianas, the Michael Jacksons, that type of celebrity fame, people say are sort of like slowly dying out. I don't necessarily think it's true. I think it's transforming. And I think the fact that we have Saturn and Revati is very much in alignment with that, because Saturn and Revati is not there to just kill something off. It's there to transform it into something completely and totally different. We might see a new influencer. We might see a new type of celebrity or a new style of how we consume celebrity and media culture, since that seems to be a very big theme when it comes to Revati. In 2020, 1999, 2000s, well, not 2020, I would say 2000s to the 1990s. We had this huge tabloid culture. Tabloid culture is kind of dead now, but we do have this big sort of like Instagram, TikTok culture. All of that becomes part of the celebrity story. I don't think you see as much people focused on celebrities in the same way that they were before. They kind of go through a different avenue where celebrities are needing to almost be like they need to present themselves as more real. They need to present themselves as like an everyday person, but still keep that boundary. And it's leaning more into the realness. I think so, but that's my opinion. Harry Potter is interesting in the sense that if the plot has Revati themes, you know what? It just might, right? Like there's that sense of somebody new being born to overthrow the dark powers and bringing love and compassion into the world again. So that in a way can be seen as a Revati theme, right? I never really thought about that, but that's a very good point, Kate. Oh, let me move on to the next one. So what I believe is going to happen here, basically what I just said before, I think, our old values are going to dissolve and new realities are going to be formed. And they're going to be sort of like realities we really couldn't comprehend before. The same way that Netflix killed off the physical video store. You could probably find a few video stores today that you can rent a video to, but for the most part, that model is dead. We had the DVD rentals from the stores, and now we have the streaming services, but we may have this replacement within our culture when it comes to media, where it's transitioning and going to the next level. Given the fact that we have AI and all that stuff going on, that's probably going to be part of the story here. We can already see how AI is implementing itself into the media. You'll see a lot of creators using AI. You'll see a lot of films and advertisers using like AI people, AI models, AI advertisements. You see it all the time, right? And it's only going to get more tricky because, it saves money overall when you use AI. Not best for the planet, but it does save money. You don't have to hire actors. You don't have to work with people. You can do things over and over again. You don't have to let me shoot this 5 times. It's just like, well, let me edit things this way. Let me kind of move things this way. Let me try this thing. Saves time, saves money, and allows a little bit for more creativity as well. So that could be part of the story where maybe traditional media is dying off, or even just the way it's done is being replaced by a new technique, something along the lines of that. We also saw how Harry Potter exposed, or I'll say exploded, expectations when it comes to what a book could do. Because you have a whole culture around Harry Potter, from movies, from TV shows, to apparel, to amusement parks, to games. Like, it has its own stratosphere. And no book has really ever done that before. So I think when it comes to media, there's definitely going to be some record-breaking things that people's minds couldn't wrap their mind around before. Something that seems impossible becomes possible, So that is what I see there. Why is this over here? Let's move this back here. So essentially, as I was saying, I think my predictions is that, number one, I think we're going to reach a massive collective boiling point when it comes to celebrity culture. Something about that is going to change or explode or just shift. I feel as though there is going to be more of a, change, transformation when it comes to our hyperfixation, when it comes to health and wellness movement. Either we're going to focus more so on health and wellness, or people are going to start to feel like they want some transformation, some major transformation within the health and wellness movement, just because I know Revati can connect to that aspect. I also think there is going to be a trigger or a breaking point when it comes to our consumer timeline. You know how people right now, a lot of people, not just in America, but globally around the world, are saying that the cost of living is too high. Things are way too expensive. Consumer debt is at an all-time high. Here in America, obviously, student loans are ridiculous. I think 9 million people and rising are defaulting on student loans every single day. The how do I say it? The wages aren't keeping up when it comes to the cost of living and paying for things. And so I think we're going to reach a boiling point when it comes to that, because the way massive debt is at an all-time high is definitely not sustainable. You even have changes needing to be made to Social Security, where I think starting in a few years, I think maybe just 1 or 2 or 3, there is going to be a reduction when it comes to Social Security benefits and checks, which is very problematic because here in America, obviously, a lot of people don't have retirements. So they're living off of their Social Security payments. And so having $200, $300 shaved off their check is going to be fairly problematic. It's going to be an issue. It's not going to be something that is going to be an easy way for them to live going forward. So I think there's going to be a breaking point when it comes to that. I also think that we can predict that artificial intelligence is going to surpass the expectations of what we think it can do. We may have a plan for how we see it now. People are already talking about having it do administrative duties, having it replace certain jobs, but it may even go beyond that. I can't even think about what the possibilities it can do, right? You already have robot waiters. You already have, maybe they're going to have more like stoplights on the streets and stuff, and they're giving you directions. Or I think we already have the talking cars. The cars will probably just drive themselves. We already know that. It's like, I feel like we're going to get to the point where a lot of us are just going to be turned off our brains and stuff, because it's almost going to be like things are just going to do everything for us. At least, that's my thought, but it may not get to that point. I may just be fear mongering, and I don't want to do that, but it's definitely going to surpass our expectations, and it's going to be expect the unexpected when it comes to that. I also think this is going to, and I'll say this, the reason I'm thinking of that this prediction will happen, not only because artificial intelligence is a major part of our stories and our lives right now, but also if we look back to that time period of 1997, 1998, we had IBM's Deep Blue, I think it was supercomputer. Yeah, Deep Blue supercomputer. It was the first supercomputer to defeat a world chess champion, Gary Kasparov. If I'm saying that right. So that computer did something that people didn't think was possible at the time. And even right now, we have the turning, is it the turning theory? It's like when you test if robots can surpass humans, if it can pass for humans. Let me see if I get it right. I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. I don't think, and this is why I use Google, because Bing is so irritating. The Turing test. Yes, that's what it is. It's a benchmark to see if robots or artificial intelligence can pass for humans. And we already know that artificial intelligence has passed the Turing test. It has passed for humans. AI models can 100% pass this classic test. So what you do is you have an AI robot disguise itself as a human. You may have a bunch of different humans. You ask them all different questions. You engage in dialogue, and you see if it can communicate like a human, if you can guess which humans and which is machine. And people are already being fooled by the fact that AI can pass for human. And so we have it already surpassing that knowledge. So imagine what it's going to do in just 30 years time period, right? And then we also can expect some new record-breaking media releases that will emerge across many different contents and platforms. And I think that is going to gain most massive global traction that is going to change our lives and the global consciousness. So as you're coming in, guys, I'm talking about Saturn and Revati. I have a question for you guys. Do you have any Revati placements? And if you don't know what a Revati placement is, then I suggest you look up Vedic chart calculator. Now, earlier in this video, I did go over how to find your Revati placement. I can't go back and look at it now for you guys, but if you look at the playback, you should be able to find that segment of our live so that you can look up to see if you have any Revati placements yourself. Revati is a nakshatra placement. It is essentially a portion in your natal chart. Let's say we have the sign of Aries. Aries might be cut up into 3 different sections. Those 3 different sections are all different nakshatras. Those nakshatras have names. Revati is the last nakshatra. It is in the sign of Pisces. It is at the end of Pisces. And right now, Saturn is in the end of Pisces in Revati. And that is what we are discussing today. So feel free to answer the poll. Do you have any Revati placements? If you don't know, go look it up. And we have been discussing what happened the last time. I have made a few predictions and I've looked at some common themes, which tend to be entering a new reality, out with the old and with the new. No surprise there, given that this is the last nakshatra. We talked a little bit about media and now we're going to go into signs. But before we do that, I'm going to drink some water. And if you have any questions, let me know. Now is a great time to ask. I needed that water. Because definitely the reason I go live is so that you guys can ask me questions during the live. Kate and Coffee have come up with some great questions to ask about these nakshatras, and I really appreciate it. You can also come and say hi, like Volgo Raven. Okay, I hope I'm saying that right. Volgo Raven. I'm more than happy to just say hi back. I hope you guys are doing well and you are enjoying your summer. Now, let's get started, guys. Let's get into these 12 signs. I don't want to waste any time when it comes to this. We are at the 57-minute mark, so let's get to it. Now, as I said before, I'm doing Vedic astrology, sidereal astrology. If you don't know what it is an Indian astrology, and Vedic astrology, sidereal astrology looks at where the planets are currently at in the sky, right? Not going by their, how do I say it? Because Western astrology goes by the seasons, right? And there's a different system here. And let me articulate this correctly. But Vedic astrology goes by where the planets actually are. Okay, so it is based on the permanently anchored 4 seasons for Western astrology rather than the physical alignment of the stars. Vedic astrology goes to the physical alignment of the stars. So when I say Saturn is in Pisces, that means I can go to a telescope, I can look at the sky and, well, I doubt I'm going to see Saturn, but let's say I had a really powerful telescope. I would be able to see Saturn in the constellation of Pisces right now. Versus if I looked at Western astrology, it will not reflect the fact that Saturn is in Aries right now. As we said, it is going based upon the 4 seasons. That is what tropical zodiac is based off of versus Vedic astrology. I have personally found Vedic astrology to be a little bit more accurate, especially in terms of timing and what is going on, and just clients' lives, personal lives, my friends' lives, doesn't matter. For me, I have just found it to be significantly more accurate and in alignment with what is occurring. Are you going to do donation readings tonight? Yeah, we could do donation readings. It is no problem. All you have to do is just make the donation. I will do the reading without a doubt. It's up to you guys. I have no problem doing readings. After, you know what? How about I do this? I will go to Aries to, I'll do Aries to Cancer. And then if you have a reading or a question, I will take your question during the end of Cancer, and I'll just pause between every 4 signs. Okay. That way it's not as long. So feel free to throw your questions in there. That's the reason why I'm live, guys. So you guys could ask me questions. I love it. All right. But just give me a minute to grab the cards too. All right, let's get into Aries. So Aries, this transit is happening in your 12th house. So this is the house of endings, self-sabotage, isolation, hospitals, jails, long distance travel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So one of the core themes here that we were talking about is new realities forming and the fact that the death of the old ones are going away. You know, you're recognizing exactly when escapism no longer benefits you, you know, just as we had with the stories of the violent celebrity culture and obsession, and we're acknowledging where any lines have been crossed. So, excuse me, Aries, you could be looking to undo certain things within your life, certain habits that you have. We all have flaws, right? You know, our 12th house speaks to our flaws, the areas in our lives where we're like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should have done that. Maybe I could have done that better. It's going to be a moment for a lot of Aries where you may have to sit and take accountability or sit with things that you may not like about yourself, or maybe you just feel like could need improvement. You know, it's not necessarily something that has to be this deep shame. Sometimes it's just like, you know, I could do better with that. You know, we all have areas that we could do better at. So it's acknowledging where you need to make some change. Okay. And this is not generally an easy transition all the time, because change never is. It's also a place where you realize you might need to cut the cord with something. You need some sort of release, or even you might even find yourself going a little bit further into isolation. For some of you who may struggle with some major issues, this actually could be a point of rock bottom, but this is great because this is that moment before you have a breakthrough. You know, Revati definitely comes with potential blessings. As we mentioned before, it is a wealth star, you know, and so certain obsessions, repetitive thoughts, or even just repetitive, not so great actions, repeating realities, those things come to an end because you realize they're just not for you anymore. And like I said, you may hit that rock bottom point and you're just like, I can't do this. This is not for me. I want to be a new person. And so you may emotionally evolve at this time into something lighter, into someone lighter. This can also be a time in which you find yourself traveling. This can definitely be a time in which you separate yourself from any family or friends just to dive deeper into yourself. It can also be a time for therapy. Can't think freeze? It might be my internet slowing, whatever. But it's also going to be a time for therapy and etc. These are all the things that Aries, it can connect to for you. Definitely more of a psychological transformation type of house, but it's not bad. If anything, it can make you feel a lot lighter. Now, Taurus, let us get into this. So Taurus, this is happening in your 11th house. If you see me looking at anything, it's definitely my notes, guys. Okay. I got to write all this stuff down because I don't want to forget things. Sometimes I remember things and I'm just like, oh yeah, that happened X, Y, and Z. So I want to make sure I give that example. Okay. So Taurus, this is 100% happening in your 11th house of friends, gains, network circles, big windfalls of money, hopes, wishes, long-term goals. Granted, 11th and 10th house can be long-term goals. So when I see this, I think about the fact that you could be undergoing some massive restructuring when it comes to your friendship circle, your network circle, or even just your visions for the future. Okay. When I think of Revati, it's not necessarily known for having a lot of friends. They're more so known for having more quality than quantity because there's a lot of issues of betrayal and trust and all of that. So I think you'll find out at this time period who really has your back and who really doesn't. Certain relationships you might find to fade away. Certain alliances you might have thought were strong may not be as strong, or even you might even discover some people have your back more than you know. So that can also be something that's possible. This can definitely be a feeling as if certain relationships or even goals or desires have run their course, and you realize that you might have been working towards something, but you don't really emotionally connect to it anymore. And you're like, why am I doing this? You know, I was chasing after this because I thought this was something I desired. I thought this was something I wanted, but turns out I was really only going after this because I was seeking external validation, because I wanted other people to think that I was cool, or I was, that would give me attention or something like that. You know what I mean? So there's something to do with that here, but 100% this is cutting those empty connections. This is stripping away any fantasies and really looking at the reality of any hopes, wishes, or dreams that you have desired and wanted to come true. This can also look like a reality check regarding income, money coming in, and feeling as if you need to build an actual roadmap to get to the place that you want to go, instead of being in this state of fantasy or what could be. It's just like, you know what, actually let me carve a lane so that I actually do become a millionaire, that I actually do become a billionaire, whatever your goals are, it doesn't matter. But you're trying to create actionable reality, real steps, rather than getting caught up in the daydreaming or the quick get rich schemes. You know, that's not going to work at this time. But also you could see your worth. This is also something of, I want to hang around people who find me to be valuable. There's something to do with that when I think about Revati and turning over a new leaf. And then just thinking about a beautiful yet achievable crystal clear vision for your life that could come to you at this time. Now let us move on to Gemini. So Gemini, this is happening in your 10th house of goals, careers, reputation, status, authority figures, life direction in general. And so, as we said, this is these new realities forming when it comes to your career and your professional standing. And, you know, for some people, it actually can be a face the music type of moment thing. So, for example, you have Gemini risings right now, like Tyra Banks, who are heavily trying to control the narrative of their reputation, right? Because we had that Top Model documentary come out. And don't get me wrong, Tyra Banks' reputation has been a little bit rough for a few years, but that Top Model documentary really felt like the straw that broke the camel's back. And so this is what I mean when I say Revati becomes about accountability. And I'm not saying all you Geminis are Tyra Banks and you've just been chaotic to people around you. No, I'm just giving an example because I know Tyra Banks is a Gemini rising in Vedic astrology. And so you can see now how she's trying to push back against that and clean house and recalibrate when it comes to her reputation. She is joining shows. I just saw a commercial for her. What's that runway show? I used to watch it all the time. It's like a fashion runway show, and she's joining it as a judge. And then you also have her suing Netflix and saying things like, oh, they didn't use all the footage. They edited it wrong. You know, the bad edit excuse that, you know, a lot of people use. And yes, sometimes it is a bad edit, but, you know, Tyra Banks has the history of kind of being not the greatest person, and not having the best character. So you can see there's a sense of reckoning and needing to take accountability for your actions. Now, that could be the case for some of you Geminis. Maybe there have been some things you've done in your career that you look back and you say, you know what, I could have done that differently, and it's time for me to make amends. Or you might even find yourself fighting to say, hey, actually, you know what, I've done a fantastic job, and you guys aren't actually recognizing how great of a job that I have done. Sometimes this can honestly be about escaping the wrong profession, something that just hasn't been for you, and feeling like, you know what, I've made a lot of different choices in my life to get to where I am when it comes to my careers, when it comes to my goals. And I think I'm ready to move in a different direction. And you might have that moment, whether it is a career or whether it's just the job that you're at. You may not even be thinking about changing careers, but you might just think about wanting a different job or working for a different company or even just working for yourself, but there may be some type of pivot going on, and you having the strong desire to start a new chapter and to really control your image so that you come across as somebody who is likable, respectable, and is somebody who's compassionate and kind towards others. But definitely at this time, you'll see the results of your professional identity that have been accumulated over the past couple of years, however long that you've had a career for. You'll be forced to look at your ambitions. You may find yourself, stripping away certain titles or goals that you have for yourself. Some people at this time, like when they have major 10th house transits, they go through divorces, they go through breakups, or heck, they get into relationships, whatever the case may be. But whatever it is, it's very deeply transformative of your reality. If you feel like you've had any blocked progress, this is definitely a breakthrough moment when it comes to your job and your career. So I want to say that. Now, when we get into Cancer, all right, we have Cancer. This is going through your 9th house. So this is the house of higher education, legal realities, and all of those things, belief systems, authority figures, father, higher up, long distance travels. I don't know why I said higher ups. Yeah, higher ups, leadership, gurus, teachers, styles of ethics, worldviews, etc. And so for here, I feel as though you are doing that massive overhaul of your belief systems, 100%. And it's not exactly just accepting anything to be true. It really has to go through a filtering system, and it really needs to be analyzed and thought about deeply. So you're really thinking heavily about any beliefs, especially if they've been dogmatic and you're just like, where does this belief even come from? Or if you've had any unrealistic, spiritual fantasies. I don't know if those are a thing, but like if you've had any unrealistic philosophies, beliefs, opinions, because 9th house can be your opinions as well. This is the time in which they may even be put to the test, especially with Revati there. It's very much known for, you say you believe this, I'm going to test you on it. Kind of like how I said, I see the story with a lot of Revati people having to go through that material test, right? Where it's just like, are you going to be that Judas character, or are you going to stand by your principles and morals? So yeah, this 100% for a lot of you Cancers can be a moment of spiritual testing where you're feeling like, dang, my morals are really being out there, being pushed. Like I'm really being put in situations where it's like I'm forced to actually face real world outcomes here. So that's something that to think about here. So you're starting to think about your personal ethics and choices that can drive you forward and have driven you thus far. This can also represent like academic trials, or even feeling like maybe your dad or your father or father figure is going through a heavy period at this time. People talk about the hardships of potential loss. I don't want to get into that too much, but that is a reality of that, of I'm losing my guru, I'm losing my teacher, I'm losing somebody important to me who has this sort of teacher-like spirit in my life, or teacher-like role within my life. That can be a thing here. This is definitely the end of an old world view. 100% this can be traveling, but the traveling is going to bring about a transformation in your thought process, especially with Saturn and Revati. There, the whole point is opening you up to different realities and feeling more compassion towards others. If you're dealing with any legal battles, I'm not a professional, I'm not your lawyer, anything like that. But Saturn in the 9th house and Revati is likely going to say, hey, this chapter may be coming to a close for some of you. And that's a maybe. I just want to say that just because there's a lot of themes of endings, closures, cycles coming to an end here. So that is something I want to talk to you about. But yeah, you're going to build a reality that is based off of less wishful thinking and more so the experiences that you have. And I feel like when it comes to school, how sometimes we get into this space where school or education or something like that feels like very academic. With Saturn and Revati, it really does provide you with more real world experiences, and it sort of breaks you out of this sheltered bubble where you finally have an opportunity to view some personal truths or circumstances within the real world or within a real world context. All right, so we're going to pause there at Cancer. If there are any questions or any donation readings or anything that you guys want to ask, now would be the time. I am going to fill my cup with a little bit more water and I'll be back. And if there's no questions, we're going to hop right in to Leo. Okay, so I'll be back. It's only going to take a few seconds. All right, we are back. So as you guys are coming in, we are talking about Saturn's transit through Revati. We are on the 12 signs. I've gone over the history of the last time of its transit. I've talked about a few of the themes and made some predictions. We've also discussed the differences between the different Pisces ruled nakshatras here. And also we've discussed the first 4 signs, Aries through Cancer. Now, if you have any questions that you want to ask me, feel free to ask them. I am taking pauses every 4 signs. And so our next pause will come after Scorpio here. But since there's no questions, we're going to hop into Libra. Ooh, excuse me. I'm very gassy today. I don't know what's going on here. We're going to hop into Leo. And also, don't forget to let me know, do you have any Revati placements? So far, it is split between yes, no, and not sure. And if you're not sure, look up your Vedic chart calculator. You just Google Vedic chart calculator. There are a lot of sites. You can go to Astro-Seek, and they will break down your chart and Vedic calculations, and you'll be able to see where your planets lie. Do you have placements in Purva Ashada? Do you have placements in Uttara Ashada? Do you have placements in Asta, Purva Falguni, Chitra? You know, there's a lot of different placements there. So check that out. Now we're going to jump into you beautiful Leos. All right. So Leo, this is great because this is happening in the house of shared resources, your 8th house, inheritance, taxes, loans, hidden matters, intimacy, areas in which you want to be vulnerable, but you struggle with because it's scary to be vulnerable. That's the 8th house there. In-laws, all of that jazz. Life after marriage. 7th house is marriage. 8th house is like, this is our married life together, you know, so when we think about this, this is a time where it feels as if we're really looking at when it comes to a financial perspective, it can look at any sort of things that are high stakes and that you may have been avoiding, because Revati is more so like, hey, this is the moment for accountability. For example, how I was talking about earlier, how a lot of Americans don't have retirement. So the 8th house with Saturn and Revati is like taking a pause, for example, and this is pure example, to pause to say, what can I do to make sure that I have enough in my retirement to live off of, right? Because that 8th house is the house of investments. And so things like 401ks, Roth IRAs, these are the things that could be looking at. You could be looking at really a lot at this time. But it's not just a moment of managing money, but it is about, how do I say this? Just an overall confronting some hard decisions when it comes to, how you are setting yourself up emotionally. Like, are you putting yourself in a vulnerable position in a bad way? And are you resisting putting yourself in a vulnerable position in a good way? Because Revati is all about leaning into vulnerability, ignoring things like, oh, I feel ashamed of this, so I'm not going to open up and be myself. You know, Revati people go through a lot of different circumstances like we all do. But one thing that they do that I've seen is a little bit different is they will take ownership of the decisions that they've made or choices that they have made that haven't been the best and say, hey, yeah, I did that. I went through that situation, but I'm not going to let it define me. This was a moment in my life. This is not who I am. I am a diverse character. And so this can be a moment where you're actually connecting with people in a more vulnerable way, and you actually feel empower or emboldened to express yourself. And yeah, it can still be about all of those financial decisions, right? Like, I'm making decisions regarding some debts, some taxes, some investments, some agreements that I've made with others. Okay. I'm also looking at how other people support me and how I support other people, right? One thing I see about the eighth house that people, they talk about it a lot. They say it's a house of like share of other people's resources. So it's about like how other people are doing things for you. I have found the eighth house to be very mutually beneficial. Sometimes when I've seen eighth house transits, some people spend more time giving than they do receiving. But that could be part of your story here. Okay. With Revati, there is less focus on how can I receive from other people, because Revati is a wealth nakshatra. It's the accumulation point. It has everything, right? So Revati focuses a lot about how can I give to others? How can I give back? There's a sense of charity. And that's the reason why the 12th house is charity, right? It's associated so heavily with charity because it's so bountiful and it's so full. Okay. And then even it's actually interesting. Not nakshatra, astrologer I follow, Sam, who is her handle is She Cookie. She did a study on which nakshatras are known to be more so like Robin Hood types, like steal from the rich, give to the poor, or just show a sense of giving and having compassion. And the number one nakshatras were Revati. And then the second one was Uttara Bhadrapada. You know, the two nakshatras, the two last nakshatras, right? And so this is why I say with the eighth house, this is more so about giving. And giving in a way that is very compassionate, bountiful, and makes you feel great emotionally and feels like you're making a difference in other people's lives. Like, how can I uplift people? How can I give to other people? And in return, there is a opportunity that you might be have things given to you as well. Okay. So that is something I want to say there. This can also bring some bad habits to a dead stop. Eighth house is also one of those psychological houses that deal with negative habits, obsessive thoughts, obsessive thinkings, behaviors that are a little bit out of line. And so you might even find yourself having to audit things in terms of how am I acting when I'm stressed? How am I setting boundaries in my life? And you may have to go over not just the emotional regulation and the ability to open yourself up to others in a way that's healthy. But you may also have to let me look at these joint resources. Let me look at where I'm not taking care of myself, the practical side as well as the spiritual side. That's a lot of things going on with the eighth house. But for sure, there's an opportunity for some of you guys to grow psychologically and also to grow financially, and just to create a system for yourself where it feels like I don't have to worry so much about the financial entanglement or the responsibilities of bills and taxes and savings for retirement and investing and stuff like that. I feel empowered because I've created systems. And the same thing when it comes to emotional resilience and establishing healthy boundaries. All right. I don't know why I went in so hard for you, Leos. So Virgos, all right, this is the seventh house. Okay. So this is going to be the the one-on-one partnerships, because it's not just like, it's interesting. We always focus on like relationships and being in a couple and marriage. And yeah, seventh house is that, but it's a lot of just partnerships as well. Like if you have a coach, if you have a nutritionist, if you have a lawyer, if you have a doctor, like these are all one-on-one partnerships. It's not just, are you married? Are you in a relationship? Are you in love and things like that? So when we think about Saturn and Revati coming here and these new realities forming and the death of old ones going away, this can 100% be rejecting any self-sabotaging behaviors when it comes to personal relationships, or sometimes people escape within relationships. And this is like, I'm going to end that. I'm going to bring you the reality of the situation of you romanticizing a relationship and how that's not that great. Saturn is actually a very lawyerly like planet. I think Claire Nakti did a study that said Uttara Bhadrapada, which is a Saturn rule placement, is known for being the most lawyers or having the most lawyers there. And so this transit actually brings a lot of legal contracts or even potential legal battles there just because of Saturn's influence in the seventh house here. And there can just be some discussions or even sometimes things spent in court. Think about Johnny Depp, who underwent his Saturn return here and transit in the seventh house, and how that brought such a public civil lawsuit case to the forefront. Okay. So this is why I say Saturn's influence in the seventh house really does focus a lot on sometimes some legal matters that can take place or just contracts in general. But it can also bring clarification of things, right? Like, let's bring this thing to a boiling point. Let's bring this thing to an end, especially in the sign of Revati. And then we can also look at people like Tiger Woods, right? Who highly publicly lately, he got arrested for a DUI, right? And he's a Virgo rising. So this would be his seventh house. And I'm sure he's going to have to deal with the legal consequences of his actions. And once again, we're talking about accountability here. So this is what I'm telling you. Revati really does focus on karma, accountability, the accumulation of your actions. And so if you've been acting in a way that hasn't been the most beneficial for you or others, then this can bring about a turning point here. Now, this can be a moment in which you might enter into some positive contracts. Maybe you have been treating others with a lot of respect. You've been making some very soulful connections. You have been a very compassionate person. Then this can be like an elevation of your relationships. Okay. It feels as if, I've been chasing after this one job for so long. And finally, through networking, I'm able to get it because I built some powerful connections here. And then also this can bring some people into your life that bring about a strong sense of wisdom, who want to help you out, who want to give you a leg up, who want to see you win. And you might even just personally be recognizing how much you have grown and how much you have worked on yourself. And by working on yourself, the reason I bring this up, even though we're talking about the seventh house, is when you work on yourself, you have a better understanding of what you need and what you desire within a partner. And so this transit might be coming through and it's bringing a sense of clarity about just what you need on a financial level to succeed within partnership and to create deep and lasting forming bonds. And maybe even at this time, you can see that happening and unfolding for you, where you're looking at your partner or somebody you're with or somebody within your life. And you're like, I just truly feel like this is a very unbreakable alignment. I really do feel like I am with someone who I totally love, or I am in a contract, whether that's, whatever the case may be, or I built an audience who I feel I connect with and I really respect and they respect me, and there's a mutual love and benefit there going on. Now, let us get into Libra rising. So this is happening in your sixth house here, your health, your work environment, your, whether you are renting, your clothing, presentation, debts, These are all of the things that this can deal with your day-to-day life. And so you find yourself actually might forming new physical habits and changing your presentation a bit, switching up your style, your clothing, your appearance, your dietary intake. These are all of the things that 100% could be happening. There could be a transformation within your labor, and you find yourself saying, you know what? I've been choosing a lot of jobs, or I've been moving in a way or living my life in a way that I've actually created things that were a lot harder on me, and I don't feel aligned with these things anymore. And you might even find yourself saying, dang, I might have been escaping into a routine, and now it's the time to say, I don't want to ignore my body anymore. I don't want to ignore these workplace conflicts. I don't want to ignore the fact that I don't think I'm being paid as much, and I want to move in a different direction. Now, for some of you, maybe you've already made those changes because we're all in different places in our lives, and you find yourself saying, okay, I'm actually really fully going to commit to this. And this could be some opportunity that you're finding that, oh, my health is actually improving. I'm seeing the results of my labor, my actions. I've been looking for a job, and boom, now it seems as if I'm actually getting callbacks and interviews from jobs that I really want to work at, that I feel will truly value me. And then also, because like I said, the 6th house governs your hair and your appearance and your physical presentation. This can definitely be a level up in those areas where you're saying, actually, I want to change my style. I want to change my wardrobe. I want to change my hair and totally revolutionize my wardrobe. And you just have this fresh new look that people are like, oh man, there's something about you that just seems lighter and more clear, and, something along the things like that. This is also the time of purging bad habits and even creating systems to make sure you don't go back into those bad habits. That's something that can happen here. You might take the leap into, like I said, that new job, that new lifestyle, that new way of living. You might even find yourself renting a new property at this time, one that feels peaceful and supportive of your inner world and growth. You're like, I'm done with the chaos, but it really is a death to an old way of living here when we think about Saturn being in Revati in the 6th house, right? There's changes within your schedules. You are eliminating things that make you anxious and bring you a sense of anxiety and that are draining you. It's a time to recognize that, hey, you know what? Every time I eat this lasagna, I feel heavy. I feel tired. It makes me sleepy. It's like, well, I'm going to stop doing that because I just don't feel like this is right for me. You're creating boundaries around maybe work-life balance. You're like, I'm not working 60 hours a week. I want a job that's 40 hours, 32 hours, whatever the case may be, that makes me feel emotionally lighter and more stable. I am focusing on how I can level up my health. And also, it's just like, I don't want to do any work that doesn't feel in alignment to my character and my soul. I want to work on things that really light me up inside and make me feel like I'm contributing something to the world. And this can also represent the people that you work with and forming stronger circles. Like I said, Revati is not necessarily like a bunch of people surrounding you, but it's like, I want to create a group that of quality people that I can work with, or I want to hire quality people. So that's something that I want to say there. Now, Scorpio, let us get into it. Hopefully I'm doing this right. Yeah, I am. Scorpio, I'm just like, did I miss something? I'm like, no. We're going to pause after Scorpio. So if you have any questions, let me know. Scorpio, this is in your 5th house of creative expression, romance, education, ego, in a sense. It can represent stocks. No, anyone can ask a question. I'm going to be pausing after Scorpio to take questions. I'm pausing after pretty much every water sign to take questions. So Scorpio, this could actually be some new changes when it comes to your love life and your dating life. For sure, when we think about the changes that can come here, Revati wants to bring into somebody who feels like your souls are one, like you're merging into this beautiful soulmate contractual relationship, but it doesn't want you to get caught up in a toxic fantasy. I see a lot of Revati relationships in which they are forming connections that there's a lot of drug use or there's a lot of mental illness, and it's just a lot of unchecked issues going on here. That is the lack of boundaries, toxic side of Revati, right? The more darker side. The more elevated side is the sense of self-awareness and personal growth. And I'm here to elevate you. And yes, I have bad sides, I have good sides, but we're here to accept each other and truly, truly connect and fall in love here, right? And so for some of you guys, you might be attracting that type of relationship. And if you're in more of a toxic relationship, you might be finding yourself moving away from that. This can also bring a reality check when it comes to certain passions and how you seek pleasure, right? Where you might have a cap on that and you find the things that used to bring you a lot of personal joy, you just don't really enjoy anymore. And now you're looking for things that emotionally or spiritually sustain you. And it's just escaping a lot of rose-colored glasses like thinking in many areas of your life, okay? This can also look like being very strategic about making investments and spending your time and energy into things that you feel passionate about. You know, here it's actually interesting. I was reading this study by the astrologer Sam Shikuki, and she was talking about how Puva Falguni, which is a natural sign placement within the sign of Leo. Oh, I see your question, Chiron. Within the sign of Leo, how it is about connection. There's a connection to doctors with Puva Falguni. Okay. And what I was trying to get into here is when you have Saturn in the 5th house, there are aspects of this placement that makes you want to take care of your health and educate yourself on things that bring you peace of mind, that bring you happiness, that bring you fulfillment. And it's not just about seeking some sort of shallow pleasure. It's about creating a life that is ultimately fulfilling and freeing. You're like, is this experience really worth any sort of stress or physical harm that it could possibly cause me? Kind of like sometimes when people go out to drink, right? That technically brings a lot of stress and physical harm to your body, right? So this is kind of the things that you might be thinking about with Saturn being in Revati in the 5th house, okay? This is also saying by doing the hard work, you strip away the weight of temporary thrills. This transit can bring very much like everlasting joy and creative mastery. You can establish a strong sense of self-worth. You can form, like I said, those deeply soulful attachments, and you honestly can feel just more emotionally aligned and feel like just more excited inside, especially if you felt a little bit like, nah, you know, like that kind of meh feeling. This brings more of a boost in that, forcing you to break out and find a new outlet if something's been draining you. All right, let me get to your question, Chiron. I said, I'm extremely worried I won't be able to afford my rent in a week. My partner is threatening to kick me out the first. I feel like I need to find the money, but my brain is so worried I can't see solutions. Okay. And what is the question? Is your question like, will you be able to make rent? Or will you find a place to stay? Or is it that now, if we're overall thinking of solutions and dang, your partner's kind of a jerk, you know? I don't mean to offend, but kicking somebody out is kind of on the street is kind of crazy, you know? Let me get my cards. Will I make rent? I don't want to move. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. We have the Empress. But yeah, you might have to start looking for a different place as well. Something that's going to be a little bit more affordable. And we have the Page of Pentacles. They're the one that cheated on me, mind you. That's crazy. They cheated on you and they want to kick you out. Well, you definitely got to build some independence. But we do have the Empress and the Page of Pentacles. And the cards believe that you will be able to make rent. Those cards are about abundance. And we all know that the Page of Pentacles is someone who is, you know, carrying some money to deliver. They've got a check in their hand. They've got coins to give. So, and then we have the Chariot here. So I 100% think that you are going to be able to make rent for sure. Be sure to look at any, I have my cats. It's hard to find places that accept. Yeah, it may be hard to find places, but some places, there are apartments that accept it. I will say this, but you're going to have to pay more. So this could be about making hard choices. You know, usually people have a pet fee for apartments per pet, you know. They are living with their parents right now, and I want to move back here. Okay, so your cats are the cats? Are you saying your cats are living with the parents? Or I guess I might be getting confused, but the cards do say that you will be able to make rent. You will be able to find a solution. You will be able to find a way to move forward. And let me see if there's any other advice for you. We have the Eight of Cups. So I guess the cards are similar to me, where you're likely going to have to move and get out of that situation. So they want me gone. Yeah. Oh no, the partner. Okay. So the partner's moving back, living with their parents right now and want to move back here. Oh, I see. So they want you to move out while they're at their parents, etc. So I see that. The Eight of Cups is basically saying that actually might have to take place. The cards are advising you find a different place to live and to move. And yeah, it may be hard to find a place that accepts cats, but you can find a place. There are lots of people who have cats who live in apartments. So definitely start looking. And keep in mind, with the Eight of Cups, it's a card that says that there's something better out there for you, that you don't have to stay in this situation where it feels like you are hanging on by a thread. You said, I can't afford my own place, especially within a week. Well, I didn't say a week. I meant like after and time. You know what I mean? You're going to have to start looking for your own place. With this person, you know, be realistic with them. Say, hey, like, I'm going to need at least 2 or 3 months before I can save up to move out or something like that. Moving out within a week is not something I can do. And you do have renter's rights, right? So make sure. You say, I can't leave them. We have 6 cats. Yeah, it's going to be expensive finding a place with 6 cats. But make sure you look up your renter's right in case this person tries to kick you out. You do have the right to usually stay there. There's usually something as like, I don't know if it's squatter's rights, renter's rights, but whatever the case may be, generally places can't just kick you out right away. Okay. I tried just now and they said they will take legal matters. That's fine, because legal matters take months, you know, like it doesn't really matter. If anything, I would say go for it, you know. Yeah. Like I would say, if anything, that gives you more time. So more than likely, even if they take it to legal matters, the judge is probably going to say, all right, they're going to give you this much time. So that's exactly what you need right now. Yeah, know your rights. I'm glad you know them. Yeah. And then, but but start looking for a new place. And let me move these. What else does cards want to say? Yeah, the Strength card is definitely kind of letting you know that it's going to be a little bit of a long road and a challenge. But 100% you can do it. One thing about the Strength card is even if it takes a lot of grit, it takes a lot of effort, it's saying you can do it. I just want to be able to pay my rent so I can not worry about them. Yeah, that is tough. Like, what's the job situation? Are you looking at any, trying to think of like quick ways to make money? I think the quickest ways are all kind of like, either selling something or like Uber or Instacart or, you know, I'm trying to think of quick ways. But those are usually the quickest ways to sort of get cash. You don't want to borrow anything because, you know, those things are always expensive. Borrowing any money, that's going to be like hell on earth. But keep looking for the solutions. I'm trying to think of any quick cash payouts. All of those job things take forever. Sometimes people will hire people to do odd jobs. Whether that be helping somebody take out the trash, whether that be like, I need someone to, I don't know, babysit, you know, said it's so annoying because I have all those apps and they took the card too. So sorry, dang. All right, this sucks. Yeah, without a card, that's going to be harder, you know? You're going to have to just, you know, I don't know what the situation here, I guess you have to play the long game at this point because keep looking for solutions to make rent. Yeah, the card said the cards think that you'll be able to pay the rent because we got the Empress, the Page of Pentacles, and the Chariot. So the cards think that you're going to be able to make rent, but they also want you to look for a new place because they feel like this is going to be a little bit of a long journey till you find the right place, but they do know it's going to happen. So you're thinking it looks good, then use the time to look for, lose the time to look for another place without a doubt. And even if they take it to court, it's still going to take months for them to even kick you out. Like it wouldn't, like, you know what I mean? Court is not something you just schedule and then next week you're there. There's like months and months on end. You know, it's like 3 months, 4 months. Like, so even then that would still give you more time to find a place. Yeah. So as long as I have another month to look, I think you will. I think without a doubt, you will find, you'll have another month to look. They can't just kick you out overnight. You have the right to stay there. It's a long process that involves the legal system if they want to kick you out. And so don't even worry about that fact. They cannot just kick you out. Said they're acting crazy for saying no to this. No, they are acting crazy. The fact that you want to take your time. Not everyone can just move overnight or like get out overnight. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, that's exactly it. In the US, you do have to give sufficient notice. Also, if somebody kind of refuses to leave, it does depend on the state. I have to look. I think it might be 30 days notice. Let me see. Depending on, let me see, for renters, how much notice to give it, vacate. Most places says, okay, it says at least 30 days for a lot of places. So that's a month. They can't just say you have to go now. And it has to be a written notice. but that's pretty standard. So I say don't worry about it. You at least have another month, even if you can't make rent, you know. Yeah, look up the laws in California and see what it says about the notice for California. They probably have even stronger laws. California usually protects their people a little bit more. Yeah, it still says 30-day notice before moving out. This applies to how, yeah, it doesn't matter how long you've lived there, must be in writing, must include your name, it must include the rental address, and it must include the move out date. So they have to give you all of that information. And if they don't give you that information, then it's not really valid. Okay. So keep that in mind. They need to give you a written 30-day notice with the move out date, with your name on it, with the address. And so don't worry about them saying you need to make rent now or I'm kicking you out the next day. It's not going to happen. You know. All right. So don't stress, Chiron. You should at least have 30 more days. Use those 30 days to try to make money and save your money and focus on building a strong savings net, you know, for yourself. That is the most important thing so that you don't have to be in this situation again. And I'm just telling you, like, long term. Okay. Right now, your focus is on making sure that you and your cats are safe and you find a place that you can actually live in and save some money. You'll at least have 30 days by law in California. Okay. Now we're going to move on to Sagittarius, but I am going to send you some luck, Chiron. All right. But don't stress. All right. Now, you Sagittarius risings, this is happening in your fourth house. I know how, I know it's so funny that we're moving on to fourth house. That's what we're talking about, rent and everything like that. But yes, this is happening in your fourth house for Sagittarius rising. And so this is all about, you know, out with the old, in with the new when it comes to, you are welcome. When it comes to your home, your emotional world, physical property, and just general baseline happiness, the fourth house can connect to. And so when we think about this, you actually could do some renovation of your home or your space or where you live or your property. And then also when we think about Saturn being in Revati, because this has to do with emotional evolution, and we know the fourth house is your baseline happiness, you could actually be looking at the things that truly fulfill you and bring you a sense of joy and fulfillment. Now, the thing about happiness, sadness is obviously fluctuating, but there is an overall sense of, like, when I say happiness, I mean just general contentment. Like, you don't feel miserable every day. You feel a sense of satisfaction about your life. And so Saturn in Revati could actually cause you to look at the things that are stopping that from happening, or cause you to look at the things that are making that possible for you if you're already within that state of mind. And you might start to try to build systems around yourself to protect those things. You know, if you're like, you know what makes me happy? Having a nice, warm, safe bed. Then you might want to create a durable bed, you know, like a nice, I don't know, just make sure that you have your bed clean or whatever the heck, you know. But these are the things that you want to look at. You know, if you had an old bed, you might want to replace it because now you have an increase of happiness again, or your sense of contentment is strong. But they can be the same thing when it comes to moving. It can be the same thing when it comes to like renovating the house, changing the door frames, wallpapers, painting, all of the above, the floors. These are all of the things that can happen when you have Saturn and Revati. And Saturn and Revati, obviously, it doesn't spare any expense. So these could actually be quite pricey changes. but only if it is worth it when it comes to contributing to what truly makes you happy and fulfilled within inside. You could also find yourself spending a lot more time at home. As we know, Revati connects to isolation. On emotional level, this is very deeply transformative. As I said, because it rules that baseline happiness. And so you really are thinking about what is important. It's less about, I want this thing, I want that thing. And more so, it's about what is really going to make me fulfilled and happy inside. You could actually recognize some areas in which you have been going into escapism. And if you've been isolating yourself too much, you might actually think about why you have been doing so and try to step out of your comfort zone and push yourself to, get out the house a little bit more. And just ask yourself, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You could even take a harder look at certain family members and people who were involved in your childhood. I see people who have Saturn go through their fourth house, and they might reconnect with someone in their childhood, and they notice the differences between them and this other person. They're just like, I remember when you were like this, and I remember when I was like that, and we've all grown and we've also changed. And we've all changed. And so it becomes a very reflective moment, for you. The water sign houses, can be very much just, they're just very emotional. They're very just psychological. These are all the things. This can also be about understanding more about your legacy, uprooting those things, knowing more about yourself, having those things revealed, connections to family members. You can also decide to, just rebuild your personal life from the ground up. This is all of the things that could be here, out with the old and with the new when it comes to that. And you just reinvent and change and transform your emotional world. And like I said, for some of you, this could be moving because it goes into property. I'm going to move to a different property. I'm going to buy a different property. I'm going to save from different property. I'm going to invest in another property. All of these things could be happening when it comes to the fourth house. But that is what I wanted to talk about there. Now, when we talk about Capricorn, this is happening in your third house here. So in your third house, this is the house of communication, intellect, local environment, logistics, all of that jazz, how you're thinking, your skill set, a lot of driving, short travels, or just even short distance travels. That's part of that reality too. And so any old ways of thinking that have been brought about anxieties or have been particularly negative, or even just you might have a way of thinking that you're wondering where those thoughts came from, because our mentalities and our thoughts are all shaped by our childhood. And so sometimes we create a narrative for ourselves, as I was talking about in the beginning, where Revati's narrative tends to be sometimes a little bit more victim oriented. And if you have a more victim mindset, this Saturn going into Revati is more so like, how can I expunge you from this victim mindset? How can I stop you from feeling like, because people treat me this way, now I have to be the villain, or because I've gone through X, Y, and Z experience, I'm always this person who has to suffer, or people take advantage of me. I trust the wrong people. I find myself in these situations. And it's just like, do you find yourself in those situations, or do you put yourself in those situations? So with Saturn and Revati, it's about breaking those mental loops and accepting accountability and really forcing yourself to stop dead in your tracks and think about who you are, why you think this way, and the conversations you have. I found Saturn going through the third house in general to be somebody who is going to be a little bit more strategic about their conversations. It's never just about freely chatting, and it's more so goal-oriented communication, meaning when you talk to someone and when you speak, you think about, what is it that I am trying to communicate? What is my goal in this conversation? And what do I believe this person is going to take in? How do I think they're going to receive this message? And so you might even start to think this way when it comes to your own communication. This can also be about a level up or a mastery in some sort of skill set, because like I said before, mercurial people placements can all be about mastery. I'm focusing on this. I'm doing this over and over again. I'm practicing this. I'm getting really good at this. So Saturn and Revati in the third house is very much great when it comes to mastering some sort of skill set. So for some of you Capricorns, you can find yourself mastering the art of communication. It really doesn't matter. And I'm just throwing them out there. Heck, you could be somebody who creates electronics and you can master that. You could be a hair braider and you could be really good at that. I found Revati has a strong connection with nails. So in nail art. So you might just be really focused on that. You know, it doesn't matter, but it's really about mastering some sort of skill that can happen for you at this time. But it is the result of your own work. And this can also be about, how do I say this? Filtering people and who you communicate with and not letting certain people into your life. You know, you really want to think about, is this a conversation or a person I really want to associate with? Do I really want to spend my time on this person? You might be letting go of things that leave you mentally exhausted and find yourself saying, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And I think I want to have a more positive mindset or a mindset that believes in the impossible and believes in things that other people might find fantastical. And I'm going to set stronger boundaries when it comes to my time, my energy, my resources. And when it comes to travel here, this can bring about some travel, but it's going to be a very interesting travel. Like I've seen it be more so like I'm traveling and I'm connecting with people along the way and having some experiences that just feel like, I don't know, like I'm just immersed in the culture and the people and being surrounded by others and talking to them and all of these things. It's kind of like the difference between like if I were to travel and go through and stay in hostels versus if I were to travel and stay in high-end hotels, right? If I stay in hostels, there's probably going to be more of that down-to-earth communication, which is very Revati. Interestingly enough, they want to be surrounded by the people. They want to connect to the people. Versus if you choose the hotel route, you may not have as many immersive experiences, and Revati definitely wants to entangle themselves with others. So let's get into Aquarius. So Aquarius, this is happening in your second house, your house of personal finance, assets, self-worth. So actually, I've seen some Aquariuses actually level up financially when it comes to this. And that's not surprising because Revati is a wealth star, right? And we've said that here. So this going through your second house can actually build some more stability. You can actually start investing at this time. Like I've seen some Aquariuses and they're just like, you know what? This is the first time I've opened up a brokerage account. And so it's investing in long-term within your future and allowing you to end some old ways of doing things. Maybe your old way of doing things was just saving money. Now it's like, I don't want to just save money. I want my money to grow. I want my money to build for me. And that's something that can happen here. And it's really great to start this pattern because it can be very beneficial for you over the next 30 years. You're going to see just how much your wealth grows. And just in general, when I see people doing things and starting investments or making certain money or financial moves when Saturn's in the second house, that is actually an incredible time to build some strong systems for yourself that allow you to either have an emergency nest egg, that allow you to live the life that you want so you're not stressed. Saturn going through the second house, I found to be good, especially if you are very responsible. So that's something to think about. But yeah, this is about to get rid of reckless spending, no longer ignoring debts, no longer to use material things to patch over issues with self-worth that can come to a stop. Sometimes it comes to a stop by hitting rock bottom. Like I'm spending this much on that thing and this thing and this thing to make myself feel better. And I recognize that actually isn't making me feel better. So that can be that rock bottom moment. You can also be selective about the cash and the efforts that you put in. You might look into different transactions and is dealing with the suspense actually worth the extra stress or the hassle? Does doing this actually bring me a sense of fulfillment, happiness, pleasure, enjoyment? Like, is this something that is a good long-term investment? Revati might be causing you, Saturn Revati might be causing you to think about that. 100% you're going to think about yourself. Revati is a place, and Mercurial placements in general they're very fake it till you make it. Like, they're known for being confident and unapologetic, but they are actually not that confident. Revati people and some other Mercurial nakshatras are very shy. But what they will do is they will fake it until they make it. And so when you see Saturn coming into Revati in the second house of self-esteem, this can be a moment where you're just like, even if I'm not self-assured, I'm going to act like I'm self-assured. And hopefully that sticks, you know, that stays with me and I can feel good about myself. So you might even start trying to do something like that, you know, put yourself in that mental space or align yourself and set your life up so that you feel valuable, so that you feel good about yourself. And that's something that can happen here. This can also be a wake-up call when it comes to your diet, exercise, fitness. Second house connects to all of that. You know, second house is like, I got a strict routine. I'm working my butt off. I'm exercising. I'm putting in the work. Very much so. All of that can going on. Revati wants to bring you good health. Okay. Think about Chloe Ting. She's a Revati native. And during the pandemic, she went viral for what? Health and fitness, right? And so this is it's very Revati to be focused on that health and fitness aspect, okay? So now to the start of the show, you beautiful, beautiful Pisces, right? So Saturn in Revati for you. You Uttara Bhadrapada and Purva Bhadrapada natives must feel so relieved right now. Well, maybe not Uttara Bhadrapada because Revati is going to come, because Saturn's going to come back, right? After October, it's on your ass. Didn't mean to curse, but it's on your butt. So when we're going and talking about Saturn being in the first house or transiting your moon or your sun, and feel free to look at all of these placements between your sun, your moon, and ascendant, as I said in the beginning. When this is in your first house placement, the house of physical body, self-image, who you are, this is 100% forming a new identity, okay? This is you looking at the things that makes you uniquely you. Like what makes you stand out? What makes you be this powerful, unique, interesting human being that you have in front of you. This can also be a time where you're taking accountability for your actions. You're feeling like I am pushing myself to that breaking point, to that next level point, to that level up point. And also this can also feel as if you are, for some of you, if, certain actions haven't been the best, you may find yourself in that state where you're in that Revati victim narrative and you're having to undergo some issues where now you need to be accountable for your actions. One thing without a doubt, no matter what Pisces placement you have, and right now, as we said, it's in Revati, so Revati people are feeling this the most, but this can bring about isolation, whether that is isolation through more serious means, like, oh my God, I've been arrested, I'm going to jail. Or isolation through, it feels like I have no one to talk to. It feels like I have no one to lean on. It feels like I don't have anyone to connect with. I'm spending my time talking to ChatGPT, to Gemini, all of that stuff. Like, it can be very lonely for Pisces right now. So that's something that can happen. And you may have to use this time period in your life to do some deep self-reflection and some inner work. Because sometimes isolation can be good for you. Sometimes it gets to a point where it's bad and you're sad and you're lonely, and that can be detrimental for your mental health. But other times it's like, actually, let me reflect on my actions and how I have been carrying myself over these past couple of years, however long you've been alive, right? If it's been more than 30, then I'll just say Revati is pretty much only looking at the past 30. This is a Saturn ruled nakshatra. If it's been less than 30, then the entirety of your life, just look at your behavior up till now. But anyway, you'll need to be disciplined, but the way you feel about this nakshatra or this transit or these circumstances is going to really strictly be based on how you have been behaving. This transit can leave you, like I said, feeling stifled or like you're being forced to present in a way that doesn't feel connected to you. And then you're going to have to break out of that because ultimately this transit wants authenticity. For some of you, this is going to be coming out of your comfort zone. For some of you, feels like I'm feeling more empowered. I'm feeling more confident. Some of this is a bit of, am I putting myself in this situation? What am I doing wrong here? How can I improve myself? There's a sense of self-betterment going on here. but there's definitely this death of this old version of yourself. Okay. It's recognizing where you have limitations, what you can do, what you can't do, and accepting that. Because when we think about Pisces, the Pisces is the house of, I accept what I cannot control. You know, I let live and let God. That is Pisces' whole thing. I don't got it, you know? So this might be this whole story for you can feel as if like this time in my life, it feels like so many elements are out of my control. It feels like I can do this thing. I can do that thing. I can do the XYZ. I can talk to this person, jump through this hoop, jump, whatever. But it just feels like so many different things are going to feel a little bit out of your control. What you need to focus on the things that you can control and establishing boundaries and bettering yourself and taking accountability for your actions. This is pretty much all that happens here, but also positive things. Like I said in the beginning, for you Pisces, because this is happening for you, this can bring about a lot of wish fulfillment. Some things that you've been deeply desiring for so long are finally being unfolded and happening for you. And you're feeling as if, wow, like I'm actually living the reality that I want to live. I'm actually connecting to my goals. I'm actually having the floodgates open for me. And it's not something I ever even imagined for myself, but it's happening for me. So that is what I have, guys. What are we at? We're at 2 hours and 10 minutes. You know what? I tried to get it under an hour and 30, but I'm glad I still got it around this time. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to close out in a few minutes. Obviously, I want to go over a few things again. Just a reminder, we are having a sale, I am. I'm having a sale, and it is from June 20th to July 1st. It is 30% off of all recorded readings. If you go through Etsy, the prices are already taken off. All you got to do is click and make the purchase. If you just want to do a live reading, there's no percentage off. You know, it's the same price as always. If you go through the booking form, and the reason I have the booking form is so that you can go through Venmo, Cash App, PayPal if you choose to. Just look at the sale price. That is the price that you will be paying for the recorded readings. Now, for the live readings, you will be paying the standard price. Live readings, if you don't know, I'll do tarot and astrology live. So if you want me to look at your birth chart or your tarot, read your tarot cards, I can do that live with you. That is going to be the standard price. So as I said, the sale lasts into July 1st. Be sure to lock in on that. But if not, you can always see me for the weekly live session where I will answer your questions. I will be live this Saturday at noon. This is why I wanted to come live today, because I recognize my week is like back to back busy for some strange reason. I'm normally not this busy. I'm busy, but I'm not like, my nights aren't like this busy. Okay. So, I will see you Saturday if you want to ask a question then. For you astronauts who like to watch my regular readings on Thursday, the new Pick a Card will be out as normal. Well, it's actually going to be out at 1 p.m. I've been switching up the time. I normally have it out by noon, but this time I'm going to have it out by 1 p.m. And that might be just a time for a bit. I'm experimenting a lot this month. And if you haven't noticed, like some of my older readings have disappeared a little bit. I have not deleted them. I've just hidden them for a bit because I'm testing the algorithm and seeing how things work. And they'll be back by the end of this month. Okay. So don't fret if you are one of those astronauts who love watching the older videos. And then the other thing that I want to announce is for you stargazers. Yes, those of you who have subscribed, who are stargazers, who want access to the monthly seasonal readings, as well as the yearly readings and some unique readings. We have a new reading out this Saturday. That is the July 2026 reading. And don't forget, Marilyn, did I miss the window? No, you didn't miss the window, Marilyn. You can still ask a question. I'm just giving the announcements. So I'm not just sitting here in silence. So, and don't forget, stargazers, that new reading is out on Saturday. And what was I going to say here? Right. We have a new special reading that was actually requested by one of you stargazers. a while ago, probably a month ago, but I just had to get these certain readings out for you stargazers this month. But it will be next month, and I think you guys are going to like this reading. This is one of those more special, unique readings. And I think that covers it in terms of announcements. And thank you guys for coming to the live. Let me know if you have any questions. There's nothing new here on my end. The next video I'm going to do is likely going to be Jupiter and Pusha. Jupiter is already in Pusha. I believe it went into Pusha last week. I think I talked about it. There's so much going on. It's hard for me to remember things. Plus, my memory is a little shot. That's why I write things down. That's why I make sure to write things down, because my memory is not, she's not going to keep up. So yeah, Jupiter is already in Pusha. So you're already seeing the effects, especially if you are somebody who has water sign placements. So that goes to you people who are have Revati placements, who have Uttara Bhadrapada placements, Purva Bhadrapada, placements in Cancer, placements in Scorpio, especially those who have Saturnian Nakshatras, right? Because Pusha is a Saturnian Nakshatra, so it's going to be trining all of you Saturnian Nakshatras. Does he regret what he's done? Could you pull a card? Dolly, I will love to pull a card, but you will have to send payment first. And let me put that up here, actually, or not, because you have my face disappearing. Give me a second, guys. And I will be back. What's it doing? Bring me back. There we go. So, this is an old one. I thought I deleted this one, but we're doing questions from viewers. You can submit payment via PayPal. Hold on, this way. PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, or Super Chat. That information should be in the description. It may not be, but if it's not, you can literally look at any other live. It will have that information there, or you can just Super Chat. So let me get into this question. Right now, I don't think I have access to control it and paste it into the description here. I wish I did. All right, let's do your question, Marilyn. Do I have an email? Yes. Oh, what's going on here? Let me type that in. I usually keep it in the description, but for my astrology videos, I may not have it there. Okay, Astro-Tarot, Brandi, there we go. That is my email, Astro-Tarot, Brandi. If you guys want to contact me about any questions or anything, let me know. And you could just reach out to me there. All right, so we have the 9 of Cups. How does LRJ think and feel about Marilyn and the package that I gave her of my work? Does she want to work with me? So the 9 of Cups, obviously, they feel really great about it. They think it's perfect, exactly what they were looking for, exactly what they wanted, maybe even better than what they desired and wanted. 7 of Cups, for sure, I think they want to work with you. The 7 of Cups is somebody who is imagining their future, somebody who is feeling like the possibilities are endless, especially when it comes to working with you. They might already have some ideas in mind about the things that they want to do next. And let me get into here. We have the 7 of Wands reverse. So they feel as though you'll probably be a lot easier to work with. It's not going to feel like this uphill battle where you're going back and forth. Usually the 7 of Wands is displacement when it's reversed, where somebody can stand their ground without having to push so hard for it. You know, it's like I'm able to express myself, but I don't have to be overly aggressive. I don't have to stomp all over people. I don't have to, scream and shout and make myself known and do all this ego battle stuff. 7 of Wands is like, I'm just going to state the things that I want and that I need. And, if there's any pushback, it should come with a more easy dialogue. You know, that's kind of like how I think LRJ is viewing you. So generally they feel very positive about working with you in the future. They feel happy about it. They think it's probably a good fit. They think this package that you gave them is very exciting. They like it. They're happy about it. We have the Hierophant. That's a really great card when it comes to working together, forming a community, being in the same state of mind, feeling as if you guys are in alignment, or you will share the same, you want the same things. You know, it is sometimes when you work with people, right, it seems like this uphill battle, and you have your different ways of thinking, versus the Hierophant is like, okay, we're part of the same community. We're part of the same team. We're flowing together. Like, we ultimately have the same thoughts and goals and beliefs and what we're trying to do. And even if there's small differences, we still have the same desires. So I do think that that's how this person is viewing you, as somebody who's going to be a great person to work with, very dependable. And whatever it is that you're producing for her, or you guys are producing together, they think it's going to be something that is highly valuable or of good quality. The work will be of good quality. So that's what I'm going to say, Marilyn. It seems like things are going to be really great for you. But let me know how it works out. Let me know what LRJ says, how things end up actually being when you guys come together and work together. But things look good over here. All right, we have some not sures, and you're welcome, Chiron. We have some not sures and some no's. We have one person who has Revati placement. We have 2 with no and 2 not sure. So guys, be sure to look up your Revati placements, your Vedic astrology chart. You can just search Vedic astrology chart. For me, the first one that came up was Astro-Seek, I believe. I hope I'm not getting that right, but you can go back on this video and I show you guys how to look it up. It's very easy, very simple. You just put in that information, scroll down, and you can see if you have those nakshatra placements. I feel like my face is getting puffy. This happens when I get thirsty. You're welcome, Marilyn. All right, guys, I am going to close out if there's no questions. Thank you so much for coming to the live session. Hopefully that was helpful for you when it comes to what could possibly be happening for you and your chart and how things might be playing out in your life. Be sure to look at things from your Vedic chart perspective. Even if you don't have your nakshatras or you don't know them, you could still know your Vedic chart placement and know where Pisces is for you in Vedic and what sign that's happening in for you. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say. I don't think there's anything else. I will see you guys all on Thursday. And for you stargazers, I'll see you Saturday. And well, for you astronauts, I'll see you Saturday too, because I'll be here at noon. And I'm wishing you all a beautiful, beautiful week. So see you then. Au revoir.